Yo, what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy B, and today, coming to you from the world of Call of Dragons, we're going to be talking about a little bit of migration drama from some recent announcements, some delays slash suspensions, some player feedback, and also what seems to be just a free gimme that all the kingdoms are going to be able to benefit from having more migration coming up. All that and more. Stay tuned. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because it helps out a lot. Thanks. Okay, so let's get to an announcement that was posted on the Discord in the quote-unquote, or we'll just say ideally in the announcement channel here from Leo. This was done yesterday. So we're talking basically about the time of recording this, pretty much 24 hours ago. So saying immigration feature delay notice. Now remember, this is where we're supposed to be migrating from the slot system essentially to the migration point score system, right? That's what we're trying to get to. So due to the unforeseen, and again, you may still have some slot numbers possibly, but I imagine it's for the most part going to be just going over to the point system. So due to unforeseen technical issues, the immigration feature has been postponed to 325-7 UTC. Now, let's be very clear. We are 7, almost 8 hours past that time. And I believe that there's still issues that are happening, but again, we'll read an announcement here in a moment. While we prioritize stability improvements, we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused and appreciate your patience during this time. Thank you for supporting Call of Dragons. Okay. But again, they don't say exactly what it is. So here are some images that were sent to me by a player, and this was some of what they were experiencing. And then we may even talk a little bit about being able to migrate into a kingdom as well, and kind of what some of those restrictions might be. So at least if they're in a KVK season. So this was the immigration feature delay notice, right? So this one being sent, it's saying, right, this was on the 24th, 17, right? So before the deadline or before the announcement time that they said of 7 UTC on the 25th, the immigration function has been postponed while we prioritize stability improvements. We sincerely apologize. Okay, so basically just the same thing. It's not like they really said anything different here. However, in the next screenshot, which is 17:35 and then 51, so 16 minutes later, this person gets something saying regarding irregular migration, I want to say reparation, but repatration, triation, something like that. Yeah, I think I'm going with one of those. Our system has identified an unexpected technical discrepancy during your recent migration attempt, but they don't say what it is. As a result, your account will be repatriated. Let me Google this. Repatriated. What does this mean? Repatriate. Repatriate. Okay. Repatriate. Something like that. It says send someone back to their own country. That's the top one. Yeah, that's the top definition. Send someone back to their own country. An example, the United Nations hopes to repatriate all the refugees. Okay. Or the second definition is return to one's own country. The next one is send or bring something, especially money, back to one's own country. All right. Okay. I guess. All right. So it says, right, you are being repatriated to your original kingdom prior to this migration attempt. The immigration tokens used for this attempt will be reissued to you when migration resumes tomorrow. Should you encounter any discrepancies in resources, event progress, or other data after repatriation, please contact our support team immediately. We will follow up, investigate, and resolve all related issues with compensation finalized within 2 business days. We apologize for the inconvenience. Okay. So the only thing I can maybe think of is that this is being stated because maybe there was a delay where people could still migrate when, remember, they said it was being suspended and delayed until the new system was applied. So maybe some people were able to migrate in certain kingdoms before the new system was fully updated and in effect. All right, so maybe that happened. But they didn't really say why, right? I mean, I don't think it's anything on the player's fault, it seems, because they're just thinking, okay, well, I can migrate. Again, not everyone's going to read the mails. Like, not everyone may know that they did a full suspension of migration. And the reason that they opted to do it most likely at the time that they did, and we talked about this, is because if you look in game, as an example, you will be able to see, right? Let's go to gameplay. If you zoom all the way out, you'll notice that the majority of kingdoms were not in pre-war, right? You had some of these kingdoms, but a lot of these are already, it's after migration. It was on January 10th for them, right? So these pre-war kingdoms aren't really affected. Pre-strife kingdoms, if you look at that, aren't really affected, right? You're looking at anything from migration opening up, right? 212 was the latest one, but that's not really affecting you. Pre-war for season 3, maybe depending on who was there. This is a little more, oh wait, hang on, this is 2, 3, 1, yeah. So migration wouldn't have been affected. It's probably like these ones here, yeah. See, 322, 323. This is like more of those. I guess maybe the early marches could have been as well, but that's probably the main reason they opted to do that major suspension and delay, basically turning it off so they can work on the updates, is because it had the least amount of kingdoms that had a migration window open at the time, right? So you're reducing your kind of error or your margins of how many people could be affected, right? Based on that. Okay, so then we look at the next one here for me, which this is someone giving an example of like, hey, they're trying to go to 462. I believe they're around the 460s, 470s, so it's not like they're out of this. However, I also understand that usually with pre-strife, you have to be in a pre-strife server as well. So assuming they were, and it says you could only migrate to a realm newer than your own once per season. So I guess newer means, but this player, to be clear, was able to migrate to this kingdom to 462, but then they got sent back, repatriated. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. And then they got sent back to their kingdom, which I believe was like high 460s, low 470s around there from what they said. But now they can't go. So now you're just kind of wondering like, okay, well, what was it exactly? Was it that? Was it something else? You can clearly see on this, it says, hey, here's your migration score. So some of the things either have been updated or are happening now. But then we transition and we go in-game. And then in-game, they sent a mail out just a little while ago where it says, again, this was 8 hours, right? So this was, remember, 7 UTC today on the 25th was when this was all supposed to be figured out. They sent this out a couple hours earlier, so maybe they figured it all out a couple hours earlier, right? Which, as of recording, this would have been like 10, 12 hours ago. It says, announcement on the activation of immigration. I wish I could read this whole thing. It doesn't just go into the ... The technical issues with the immigration function have been fixed. To ensure fairness in immigration, players who used irregular methods for immigration have been repatriated to their original kingdoms prior to immigration. So now this mail is making it seem like maybe some people were cheating or some people were finding a loophole or they did something that allowed for them to get to where they could get to as a way to circumvent. That's the way this makes this, that's the way how this is written, it makes it sound. But obviously they're not going into any specifics, but this is more than what they've said before, right? Now, maybe the irregular methods, now my thing is like, look, if they're not, and this isn't to say like they're, on purpose cheating, I don't know. But the way that this makes it sound, it almost feels like they're pointing the finger, and it's indicative of that. Compared to, they could have just said that due to errors or issues in the update, it caused an irregularity where players could migrate when the system just wasn't fully up to date yet in situations where they shouldn't have been able to. Right, and that could have been it, right? That's a very kind of basic version of how you could state something like that, where it doesn't come off as though, right? So that's interesting, but they don't say exactly what it is. To facilitate smoother immigration processes moving forward, we will distribute an additional 30 migration slots across all servers. Please note that the seasonal immigration slot limit of 150 in the new immigration function applies to both standard immigration and special immigration channels. Please use these slots prudently. And then we apologize and we get some rewards. So, because of what appears to be a couple kingdoms that were affected by this. Now, everyone benefits from it, right? So kingdoms that, and this is what's wild to me, is that kingdoms that had nothing to do with this, their migration period is not going, which is the majority of kingdoms in the game, are getting basically a buff for more immigration slots their next go around. Which, based on them saying that from all this happening, I think to myself, well, how is that fair? Right? Isn't the fair thing just to make it so those kingdoms affected maybe have a reopening of their immigration period? Like, that's all that really needs to happen here. All right, we don't need to kind of like throw things at everyone else when everyone else wasn't really affected. So like that part is throwing me off a little bit. It's like we're going way above and beyond where we really need to go. Now maybe you could say, hey, for the kingdoms or servers affected, we will reopen immigration and we'll give you an extra slots. Okay, I think that's fine. So like this just feels out of left field to me, I guess is where I'm coming from this. I'm curious if anyone feels the same. If so, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That's going to be it really for what we got today. There was one other thing we'll cover, but we'll probably do that in another video. I just thought this was really interesting because of how it started and then how it escalated and what it turned into. And then everyone kind of benefiting from it in the end, which is kind of wild. Don't get me wrong. I don't think any of these kingdoms, especially in the Gen 1 and Gen 2 groups for SOS, are going to be mad at this. They're like, oh yeah. I mean, especially if you think about some of the rebuild kingdoms that are trying to get a lot more of their players in. I mean, hallelujah. Christmas came early, at least for you being able to get a few more peeps in. Or if you're looking to do a rebuild now you got 180 slots to work with compared to 150. Now you can get probably everyone or up to almost everyone from your main alliance in if you have that many people. So this is kind of a win-win across the board. It's just, I don't know, it feels like it's the excess to me. That's going to do it for me on this one. As always, until next time, man, we will catch you later.